Facebook has long been subject to controversy over the use of their users' data. From looking at what users are doing even while not on the site to a more recent controversy of listening to users' conversations with their phone's microphone but not even using the app. However, a slightly bigger and more troubling controversy happened back in 2014 and is already being forgotten about.
Back in 2012, Facebook wanted to see the power of emotional contagion, meaning that if they changed certain information or news you get in your feed, will it have an impact on what you post? Well, they actually set out and did an experiment, and The Atlantic wrote about it in great detail.
Researchers from Cornell University published on March 25, 2014, saying that emotional states can be transferred to others via emotional contagion, leading people to experience the same emotions without their awareness. This may be obvious to most people. You hang around with happy people and you'll feel happy. Surround yourself with sad people and you'll feel sad. These researchers decided to broaden the study and include out-of-person interactions like through Facebook. In an experiment with people who use Facebook, we tested whether emotional contagion occurs outside of in-person interaction between individuals by reducing the amount of emotional content in the newsfeed. They concluded that when positive expressions were reduced in people's news feeds, those people produce fewer positive posts, and vice versa when reducing negative expressions in people's news feeds. Previously, it was believed that in-person social cues were necessary for this to happen, but the study proved otherwise. Having used 689,003 users in the study, they conclude that the significance is, we show via a massive experiment on Facebook that emotional states can be transferred to others via emotional contagion, leading people to experience the same emotions without their awareness. We provide experimental evidence that emotional contagion occurs without direct interaction between people. Exposure to a friend expressing an emotion is sufficient, and in complete absence of nonverbal cues. This all sounds like really interesting data and findings. You may be asking yourself, where does the controversy come from?
Facebook caused an uproar last week when scientists from Cornell University, working with Facebook's own data science team, released the results of a psychological experiment that they performed on about 700,000 Facebook users, none of which knew they were participating. That's about 1 out of every 1,500 total Facebook users. And once they were chosen, the contents of those users' news feeds were filtered without their knowledge. If a subject saw more posts with positive language, they were about 0.07% more likely to include positive words in their own posts. That is 1/15 of 1%. A lot of users, somewhat understandably, thought it was creepy that Facebook was intentionally trying to manipulate their emotions, even if it was just by 1/15 of 1%.
Facebook has had a data science team since 2007, and the former employee Andrew Levina revealed that for much of the team's existence, they operated without regulation. Any person on the team could run a test whenever, and quote, they were always trying to alter people's behavior. Saying that since 2007, the team has run hundreds of tests without the consent or even knowledge of the users. A psychology professor from Princeton edited the study and admitted she was concerned about how Facebook apparently manipulates people's news feeds all the time. I understand why people have concerns. Levina made a blog post sarcastically titled 10 Ways Facebook is the Devil, that was meant to clear up his statements and provide more explanation and context. He claimed that this data science team at Facebook didn't need approval to do experiments such as clicking a green button instead of a blue one, or something like a new ad targeting system to see if more people click on ads and revenue goes up. He goes on to say experiments are run on every user at some point in their tenure on the site. Whether that is seeing different size ad copy, or different marketing messages, or different call to action buttons, or having their feeds generated by different ranking algorithms, etc. The reaction to this was divided. A lot of people consider this a psychological experiment done without consent. The same people argued that manipulating the emotions of the users was crossing a line. Some argued that Facebook does these experiments all the time, this one only affecting a small percentage of the user base is no big deal. One video from Forbes employees debating on the issue, one said that it was the wording of the issue that's concerning people and causing the uproar.
I don't think that there's anything particularly new here. I think more than anything what people are finding alarming is the language that this is couched in. We're not used to hearing, when you hear Facebook manipulated people's emotions, that sounds really scary. If you hear Facebook showed people certain types of content to see if they would respond with similar types of content, that doesn't sound very scary.
But The reason why Facebook did this isn't because they wanted to carry out some great sociological experiment. They wanted to see, how this impacts what you post, how often you post, and how much you post. So one thing that they found is that if you have neutral news in your feed, then you're less likely to post anything at all. So they want to ensure that the information they put in your feed, and remember, they do prioritize certain things over others, they want to make sure that when they post things on your feed and make it visible to you, you're more likely to have some sort of reaction and write something on your wall. That leads to more advertising, that leads to more money. That's their entire business model.
Also, some have said that since the amount of users actually affected less than 1%, then there is no issue. Although these are good points, many think it was a step too far. Facebook messing with different algorithms to get you to click on more ads, such as seeing your internet history to better provide with ads tailor-made for you. And getting the people to spend more time on the site is something most people won't even notice. However, a change in their emotions is something they will, albeit they just won't notice it's Facebook doing it.
Although Facebook did want to point out, no one's personal information was used, and not much actually happened other than maybe organization. While some of those speaking out against Facebook have said, well, it was an experiment that you treated a group of people on your site differently. And even the result shows that by doing this, by showing more negative stuff in place of maybe, a normal feed, you had an impact on that user, you made them more negative.
My opinion has swayed as I've done my research into the issue. At first I was shocked. How did I not know or remember this happening? But then the other part of me recognized that if it was actually a big deal, I would have remembered. Then I went back and thought about it ethically, and was completely against the experiment. I thought that while it wasn't really a privacy issue, like I've seen some say, it was still intrusive and that I was crossing the line. Then I heard the argument that it might just be wording that made it seem like more of an attack and straight up manipulation. Also hearing that the initial 700,000 was, at the time, about 1 in every 1,500 Facebook users, and that the percent affected was less than 1% swayed my opinion and that it wasn't really a big deal. So they found that this works, that people's emotions are affected by what they see, but such a small amount of people that it actually happens to. At this point, companies doing shady stuff like this isn't really a surprise, and something this small isn't as concerning to me as selling users' data to advertisers or net neutrality. What Facebook did was shady, no doubt about it. They should have been more transparent about it, whether it was as it was happening or right after. Now wait 2 years for the study to get published. Ethically, it's questionable. It depends on who you ask and how you feel personally. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of something like this, I don't think it's a huge deal. There are bigger things to worry about other than some 1 week long study that happened way back in 2012.